Welcome, everyone. Today's story is about Michael Jordan, not as a legend, but as a man who refused to waste his life. He started ordinary, faced rejection in high school, and turned failure into fire. Instead of giving up, he used pain as motivation. That mindset shaped everything that followed. Michael Jordan's life is more than a list of trophies and highlights. It is a hard, simple lesson about how choices, small habits, and honest pain shape a life. This is not a fairy tale about a hero who woke up perfect. It is a plain, direct story about a man who used the things that hurt him, fear, failure, boredom, anger, as fuel. Read it as reality, why you don't waste your life. He began like many people, ordinary, with small chances and bigger doubts. Michael Jeffrey Jordan was born in Brooklyn in 1963, but he grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina, where his family moved when he was a child. From the start, he had people who loved him, but he also had limits that others saw and sometimes called out. He was not the tallest boy in his class. He did not make the varsity basketball team when he was a sophomore in high school. That cut him deep. Most people, when cut like that, find an easier path. Many give up and move on. Jordan let it burn inside him. He used that pain to push himself harder. Those first hurts taught him the most important lesson. If you let disappointment define you, you waste your life. If you use it, you build a new one. At college, at the University of North Carolina, the world first saw a spark. He was not a finished player, but he had a mind and a drive that made him different. As a freshman, he hit a single, quiet shot in the final seconds of the NCAA championship game that gave his team the title. That small moment changed more than a score. It began to teach him how to meet pressure. It taught him how one perfectly chosen action, a single, calm decision, can steer a life. The shot did not turn him into a legend overnight, but it gave him proof, to himself and others, that he could stand still inside chaos and make the right move. That kind of proof builds courage. The NBA draft came next. In 1984, he entered the league and was chosen early. People saw talent. But talent is not a life plan. Talent is a tool. What you do with it matters far more than owning it. In Chicago, he met the hard truth of professional life. Success is a daily job, not a medal on a shelf. It is waking up when you don't want to, practicing when your body screams, and staying focused when applause fades. The machine of his training began to take shape. Long hours, cold discipline, small corrections that most people ignore. He learned to love the grind. He learned that discipline is the slow hammer you use to shape raw desire into lasting work. But life did not become a straight climb. There were losses, injuries, and empty seasons. There were moments on the court when he missed the shot, and moments off the court when he felt alone. He faced harsh critics and teammates who doubted him. Through all of it, he learned a lesson that is nearly always the difference between a wasted life and a meaningful one. You cannot control everything. You can only control how you react. That means accepting pain, learning from it, and then choosing the next act. When an injury left him on the bench, he did not vanish. He returned with a sharper mind and a harder work ethic. Every bruise taught him how to prepare better so it would hurt less next time. Jordan's early years in the NBA taught another grim truth. High skill attracts attention and also pressure. Fame multiplies the stakes. When thousands watch and millions bet, it is easy to let what others think drive your actions. He learned to quiet the noise. He learned to treat the crowd and the critics the same way, as background. Focus on the work. This turns the outside world into a smaller, less dangerous place. It takes the fear out of showing up. If you waste your life listening to applause or threats, you spend your days reacting. If you learn to work in spite of both, you make choices on your terms. That discipline led to championships, but the truth about winning is subtle. Titles do not fill all the emptiness people imagine they will. When he finally won his first NBA title with the Bulls, the joy was deep and true, but it was not a final destination. Winning taught him what victory feels like, yes, but it also showed how fragile success can be. In the years that followed, he tasted victory and loss in quick music. He learned that every high brings a low if you stop learning. After 3 straight championships, he surprised everyone by leaving basketball for baseball for a short time. Some saw that as madness, others as a search for peace. The reality is simpler. Success can make you restless. It can make you ask, is this all there is? And when you question that honestly, you risk everything. The meaningful move is to question, and then to come back to your life with purpose, not to run forever. When he returned to basketball after that break, the game had not waited. People asked if he had lost his edge. He proved them wrong. The return reminded the world, and should remind you, that second acts are possible. We measure a life by how we return after we have been away, not by how perfectly we never left. Your choices after failure or doubt define you far more than the choices before. He returned to lead the Bulls to another set of championships. One season in particular stands out. The team won 72 games and lost only 10 in the regular season, an almost unheard of record. That season was not built on one dramatic miracle. It was built on thousands of small, correct actions repeated daily. Better conditioning, clearer tactics, a harder defense, and the kind of mental preparation that makes pressure routine. That is the true engine of success. The small daily behaviors that nobody sees. Beyond the numbers, Jordan's life shows something harder to measure, but more important: how to choose meaning. He did not live to collect medals. He wanted to test himself, to find his limits, and then push past them. When things became comfortable, he turned up the heat. Comfort is a slow thief. It steals urgency and dulls the mind. The real question he asked himself, and that you should ask too, is simple and dangerous. Am I becoming comfortable with small things while ignoring the big work of shaping my life? If the honest answer is yes, then you are wasting time. Let's step back from the games and look at the habits that made him effective. First, ruthless honesty. He knew where he was weak, and he would not lie. He would not pretend to be better than he was. He would point to weaknesses and open them to the light of work. Many people avoid this because truth is sharp and ugly. But avoiding truth is the fastest path to wasting life. Second, focused practice. He did not practice many things halfway. When he trained a skill, he trained it to the point where habit became automatic. That frees the mind to work on harder things. Third, competitive humility. He had a burning desire to win, but he also respected the opponent. He used the opponent as a mirror to see his own failure. That forced constant revision. Fourth, relentless routines. He built small rituals that made huge things possible: sleep, eating right, mental preparation, film study. These are ordinary things, but stacked over years, they create extraordinary outcomes. There is another part of his story that the headlines sometimes miss. He failed at business and public relations, and he made mistakes with money and relationships because life is messy. He had breathless success as a brand and partner in business, but early on, he also trusted the wrong people and let his image be shaped by others. This humanizes him. He was not a perfect prophet of success. He was a person making choices, learning, and sometimes paying for them. This is crucial. A meaningful life is not a life without error. It is a life that learns fast from error. Here is the clearest truth his story offers young people. Time is limited and unkind. The worst waste is the slow waste. Years spent in excuses, comfort, or comparison. It does not roar, it leaks. Wasting your life looks like small daily choices repeated until a year has passed and nothing has changed. It looks like allowing fear of failure to stop you before you begin. It looks like caring more for what others think than what you need to do to grow. Jordan's response to those traps was simple and stubborn. Choose the work that builds you, not the work that flatters you. Choose practice over praise. Choose tough honesty over easy compliments. A second truth: fear is not your enemy, it is a compass. Jordan played the game not to avoid fear, but to find it and then to stand in it. If a choice scares you because it exposes weakness, that is often the right path. The fear shows where growth will happen. Many people try to avoid fear entirely. They aim for safe, small pleasures. When you do that, you may live comfortably, but you will not make the kind of life that matters. Real growth asks for discomfort. Consider the way he dealt with success and identity. Too many people tie their worth to an achievement, a grade, a job, a title. When that title fades, the person feels empty. Jordan fought that by building identity not only on winning, but on being the kind of athlete and person who never stopped trying. His identity was attached to process, the daily work, not to the trophy case. That way, when the trophies slowed or critics shouted, his life still had meaning. For young people making their first big decisions, this matters. Attach yourself to a process that makes you better, not to a single prize. There is also a lesson here about choice and control. You will not control everything. Bad coaches, unfair bosses, and random failures will exist. Blaming them robs you of power. You control two things: the direction you take next and the effort you put in. Jordan conditioned himself to control those two things. Even in the face of unfairness, he asked, "What can I do to get better?" That question kept him moving forward. You can use the same question. It will strip away the comfort of complaining and replace it with the action that moves life forward. Another hard truth: talent without effort is a waste. Plenty of young people are told they are special. That praise can be intoxicating. It can trick you into thinking praise is the goal. Jordan's life counters that. Talent made the door open, but only effort expanded the room. He practiced so much that skill became habit. Some people think practice is boring. Good. Boredom is the price you pay to do something great. The work that changes you is the work you'll do when no one is watching. We should also talk about legacy. Jordan's legacy is not only 6 championships or millions of shoes sold. It is the way he changed how people understood the value of discipline, competition, and self-belief. But legacy only matters if you use it to do something more than inflate your ego. He used his fame to start businesses, create jobs, and invest in others. Still, he made mistakes. Legacy is mixed. That is fine. If your life creates some good and some harm, work to create more good. Be honest about the harm and try to repair it. That is how a life becomes useful to others and worth living. Finally, the most important part of Michael Jordan's life that you can borrow is not the moves on the court, but the daily posture toward time and fear. He treated every practice like a chance to be better. He used pain as feedback. He used praise as fuel, not as an owner's manual. He accepted that life is long, but also short. He chose intensity. He did not let distractions define him. That is the recipe to avoid wasting your life. If you want a practical set of ideas to take from this story, keep them quiet and simple. Be honest about your weakness. Practice the skills that matter. Set routines. Choose discomfort over comfort when growth calls. Focus on process rather than glory, and return to purpose after every setback. These actions are not glamorous, but they compound. The life you want is not built in a day. It is built in the everyday. Now hear this clear warning. Do not copy the surface of someone's life and expect their results. You cannot be Michael Jordan. He lived a life shaped by a particular body, a certain obsession, and specific failures. But you can copy the attitude, the refusal to waste your talent on excuses, the daily grind, the capacity to come back from breaks, and the habit of using pain to train your will. That is how you build a life that matters. Some people will tell you that life must be balanced, and they are right. But balance is not a soft word that promises comfort. Balance is choosing how to invest your time. You must make sacrifices. To win deep rewards, you must lose shallow pleasures. Decide where you will be willing to feel the strain. Jordan chose to feel it in training, in studying his opponents, in sleep and recovery, and in focus. He refused to let every small pleasure distract him from the big work. He did not live as if time were endless. He treated each season as a chance to outwork yesterday. The story also has a social truth. You will need others, and those others will sometimes fail you. Jordan had teammates, coaches, and rivals. He learned to use them, to learn from them, and to forgive their failures when he could. No person makes a life alone. Do not isolate yourself in pursuit of success. Find people who tell you the hard truth. Let them hold you accountable. Choose teams that push you rather than flatter you. Remember, the hardest part of choosing a meaningful life is not the first step. It is the 100th day when results are small and the path feels empty. You will want to give up then. Most people do. That is why so few become memorable. Jordan's life moves against this trend because he trained his patience and his boredom tolerance. He learned to accept slow progress because he believed in compound returns. That is something anyone can practice. Keep doing the right small things even when nothing big has happened yet. At the end of the day, the plain lesson here is not be Michael Jordan. It is do not waste your life on easy things that do not teach you. The world will offer many small comforts disguised as progress. A like, a short praise, a shallow achievement. These are traps. They make you feel busy and block real growth. Instead, pick the hard things that will improve you in 10 years. Show up for the boring work. Train your attention. Be stubborn about your daily habits. Let failure be a teacher. When you live this way, your life will have fewer regrets. Michael Jordan's life, in its full reality, is messy and real. He won, he lost, he left, he returned. He failed in business and succeeded in business. All of that is human. The lesson that matters is that he chose work over comfort and focus over distraction. He refused to let disappointment define him. He used it to build the next version of himself. That is why his story is not only about basketball, it is about time, choices, and how a person decides to live. If you ever feel like you are floating and not moving towards something, remember this simple test. Ask yourself, what daily action can I take that, if I did it every day for a year, would make me very different? Then do that action. Protect it fiercely. When you are tempted to skip it because life is easier, remember how small the cost of skipping is and how large the cost of skipping 1,000 times is. The slow leak of wasted days is the real thief. Patch the leak. Jordan's reality shows one last thing. Greatness is not only for the chosen. It is for the stubborn. It is for people who take pain and practice and make them the building blocks of their life. If you want meaning, stop waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect talent. Start with the honest, small work today. That is why Michael Jordan's life matters, not because he was born perfect, but because he refused to waste what he had. Live like that, and you will not waste yours.